Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you? Okay, so today I'm going to share with you all how I became a US citizen. This is my story, and I'm also going to be taking some live Q&A um, throughout the session, including some questions that was sent to me. I'm going to be answering those questions as well. For those who are watching for the first time, my name is Richard Barakat. I'm based in the US. I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm a naturalized US citizen, and I've been so since the summer of 2000. How are you? Where are you watching from? Post in the chat. Let me know where you are. So I want to preface by saying that I am not an immigration advisor. I am not giving immigration advisory here. So this is not legal advice. So if you want to become a US citizen, my advice is hire an immigration attorney. It's usually where you want to start. All I'm doing here is just sharing my journey and how I got to where I am today. So my journey started when my dad brought me into the US at a young age. So the most important thing is always, I think where it starts for everybody is you have to have legal residence. Without legal status, it's going to be virtually impossible for you to gain citizenship. And I know that there are other people out there that are trying to cut corners and trying to circumvent the law. I'm not saying that you won't obtain citizenship that way, but it's just going to take you a lot longer. So, legal status is always the first thing. So, I'm going to share with you my pathway to citizenship. Now, there are many pathways. Some people obtain citizenship through just sheer residency. I think you have to be here, I think, a minimum of like 5 years. Others obtain their citizenship through marriage. But in my case, I obtained mine through enlisting in the US Army. And I'm going to tell you, the United States Army, and I'm going to tell you what happened. So in 1998, I was 18, 19 years old. And I knew by then I was still a resident. I had my green card from Nigeria. And I had two goals in mind. The first goal was I wanted to graduate college. That was always number one. And then secondarily to that, I wanted to become a United States citizen. Now, I know a lot of Nigerians, or maybe even this also applies to other immigrants as well, who don't really prioritize obtaining that citizenship. I know people who've been in the United States for 10, 15, 20 years as a resident. But my recommendation is you should probably consider prioritizing obtaining your citizenship for many, many reasons. And throughout this course of this video, I'm going to talk about some of the benefits as well, based on what I have being a citizen of the United States. So my thing started in the summer of 1998 when I enlisted in the US Army. So I did my basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia for about 6 weeks. I don't remember, 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And then from there, they sent me to Virginia to do my AIT, meaning just advanced training for the job that I was in the military for. And then thereafter, I was stationed at my permanent station in Fort Irwin, California. That was when I applied. It was late 98, early 99. So the thing about my enlistment in the United States military, and by the way, guys, remember that you can do that. You don't have to be a United States citizen before you join the US Army. You could, as long as you are a legal resident of the US and you take an oath, you take allegiance to the United States, you can enlist in the United States Army. And that's what I did. So part of the draw for me was obviously they were going to pay for my college, and then they were also going to fast track my pathway to citizenship. So normally, if I were just a normal resident, right, meaning I'm not enrolled in the military, it would have taken me at least a minimum of 5 years. I think you have to be a resident. I don't know how it works anymore. Mine was all the way back in the late 90s. But I think you have, and I think it still applies. Like you have to be a resident for those who are not going through the pathway of the military like I did. You have to be a resident of the United States for a minimum of 5 years before applying. But the thing about being enlisted in the U.S. Armed Forces was my process was fast tracked. Okay, so instead of 5 years, it took me just excuse me, guys. It took me just under 2 years to obtain my naturalization certificate. So when I applied in late 98, early 99, there's a department within the United States Armed Forces that helps enlisted resident aliens fast track and obtain their citizenship. So I went through that department. Now I don't remember if it's through the State Department or if it was a department within the military base that I was in, Fort Irwin, California. But anyway, they walk you through the pathway of what you need to do, what you have to, as far as like the documentation that you need. I went through that process. I applied at that time in 98, 99. Let's just say it's early 99. The cost at that time was about $250 for the naturalization registration was what I paid. I think now I'm pretty sure I haven't checked in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's probably like in the 400s, maybe even $500 to apply. So what happens is I went through obviously being in the US military, I've gone through my federal background check where you are fingerprinted. They'll do a comprehensive background check on you. And mine was pre 9/11, before the terrorist attacks. So post 9/11, I think that background check is actually global now. When I did mine, I was limited to just the United States. But with the global war on terror, with the way things are now, your background check is actually extended out the United States. I think now they're starting to do like Interpol background checks. I mean, they are really going to screen you. They're going to run your fingerprints. They're going to check and make sure that who you are, who you say you are. And then you go through the interview process where they'll ask you, like who is the president of the United States. Obviously, you want to also be proficient in English. If you want to be a citizen of the land, English is a must have. That is one of the things that they look for to make sure that you speak proficient English. You're gonna look for that. And then you go through, you take a test, and then it takes a while. Like for me, it was the entire process. Like I said, if I applied in early 1999, I remember being sworn in July or June of 2000 through the courts. And mine was in Montebello, California. The whole system within the military structure was very seamless. Obviously, I had a permanent address in Fort Irwin. That's where they're going to send all of your documentation. If anything that they require of you is going to be sent to your address, so you're going to need to have a permanent address where you're living. So my the swearing in ceremony was fun. There was a bunch of other immigrants there who were getting sworn in as citizens of the United States. So only a federal judge can go in. You raise your right hand, you swear allegiance to be a military, to be a U.S. citizen against all foreign and international enemies, what have you. There's just so much that you got to go through, but the entire process was super super easy. Now, once you're done, you're not going to get your naturalization certificate that same day. It's going to be mailed to you. So mine was mailed to me. And as soon as I got that naturalization certificate, that is what you then use. You mail it in to the State Department to obtain your United States passport. So the passport is issued 10 years. I think this is probably like my second or third that I've gone through. It doesn't mean that you're not going to give up your Nigerian citizenship. I'm Nigerian, so I have dual citizenship. So I have both my US passport and my Nigerian passport. So anytime I'm traveling to Nigeria, I go into the country with my green Nigerian passport. And then when I'm returning into the United States, I use my US passport to come back. So at any given time when I'm traveling back home, I am with two passports. Now, I don't need a visa when I'm traveling to Nigeria. My dad used to do that. Like my dad would literally put his Nigerian passport away and then go and get a Nigerian visa for his US passport. For me, I love that dual nationality, being able to come and go as I please between both countries. So with Nigeria, I don't need a visa. I just need a valid Nigerian passport. Now, this one has expired and I'm traveling to Nigeria soon. This one expired actually on, I'll tell you when it expired. November 23rd, 2025. So this expired 2 days ago. Now, because my trip is coming up here very soon, I'm not going to have the time to be able to send it into Atlanta to get it renewed. So I'm just going to have to enter Nigeria with an expired passport and deal with it when I get there. Now, you may be wondering, why do I have Naira if I can't spend it in the United States? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 8,000 Naira. This is Nigerian currency. In the past, I used to give it away. But because I have increased the frequency of my travel to Nigeria, now I just hold on to it. Like this can easily get me from the airport the international airport to the local airport. Plus, I just like carrying Nigerian cash around in case I need to tip somebody for maybe carrying my luggage, or if somebody out there provides a good service for me. So I don't give away my Naira anymore. I bring it to the United States. I generally carry around anywhere between 20 to 30,000 Naira always on hand in the US. But in this case, I don't know what happened. I'm left with 8,000 Naira, and I have it when I go home here, soon here within a few months. I'm just going to use it, and then on my way back, I'm going to bring back. I'm going to bring it back. So as far as like some of the benefits um, of being a U.S. citizen, obviously, it's one of the most important passports in the world. Travel freedom. You can go to pretty much most European countries without a visa. Like if I want to go to France, I don't need a visa. I've been to France before just on my US passport. Europe, you don't need a visa. I believe I would probably say majority of the United States allied countries, you don't really need a visa for. You can just enter in and out with your US passport. So it's uh it's something that you should definitely prioritize obtaining. If your long-term goal is to live in the United States permanently, like in my case, the US is my principal residence. Yes, I have business and investment activities in Nigeria. I have a home in Nigeria. But for now, and for the foreseeable future, let's say for the next 15 years or so, the US is going to be our principal residence. Now, once our children are off to college, depending on where we are, we might, Nigeria might become a principal residence, and then the United States is secondary. But for now, US is where it's at for us. This, this passport, I'm telling you guys, just obtaining your US citizenship opens up a lot of doors. I'm still till today I enjoy the benefit of just being a US citizen in addition to having to have served in the United States Army. So that is the pathway. That is my story. That was how I was able to get my citizenship in less than 2 years. For those who aren't in the military, your process may be 5 years or even longer, depending on your situation. Obviously, the 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 more legit, I guess, that you are, the easier it is for them to be able to issue you your naturalization. Now, it's not going to be easy. But remember, mine was pre 9/11. I don't really follow US immigration that much, but I can tell you that a lot has changed since the 9/11 attacks. They're just a little bit more strict now in issuing naturalization certificates to residents. Okay. So uh, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions that were sent to me. And hopefully you're able to take a thing or two out of this and learn something. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat section and I'll answer it. Uh, so the first question here is why do Nigerians abroad succeed or fail in their first 5 years? Just from my experience, success really starts with focus. Um, if you have a goal that you're driving towards, you are more likely to be successful. But I think that those who fail are those that actually come in without a long term objective of staying in the United States and contributing to the United States society. They are not focused, they are distracted. And the fastest way to failure in the US as an immigrant is getting involved in anything illegal. You know, crime is usually the number one way that people fail in the United States. And today, in this day and age where they are picking people up left and right, you sneeze, they're picking you up and deporting you. But I think that if you just have your legal document and you are legally residing in the United States, it just makes success a lot easier. Like it's true what they say in the United States, you could be anything that you set your mind to. The environment is there for that, the climate is there for that, but there's also temptation. Just as US is a great platform and a great environment for you to succeed, it's also a platform for you to fail if you choose to go the path of, let's say, criminality. Um, that's usually, I mean, the system is built for that too. If you want to go that route, just know that the Justice Department, law enforcement is always going to be at your tail. It's just so much easier to just be a law abiding citizen. Okay. So, question number two: what shocked you the most when you first came to the US? Remember, I came to the US at first when I was 11, 6 weeks to my 12th birthday. I wouldn't say I was shocked. I would just say that I just had more opportunity because prior to coming to the United States, I was in Nigeria living in a small, literally a small studio the size of my office with my grandfather and my mom and my sisters and my grandfather's children. It was literally about 10 of us sharing this small space in Lagos, Nigeria. And then coming to the US, all of a sudden I went from living with 15 people to living with just my dad. So I had my own room, I had my own house. Everything just felt bigger. And I felt smaller. Like for the first time in my life, here I am with all this. I have a bed to myself for the first time in my life, a home to myself. And I recall early on, I would sleep in, and my dad didn't know this. My dad didn't know this for a long time. I would literally sleep inside of the closet because I needed that confined space because that was what I was used to. I never had any space to myself growing up in Nigeria. And then all of a sudden I had that. So on the home front, that was my reality. And then uh 11 years old, sorry, 12 years old, I believe I was in grade 6. And then the school system was also better. It was just to me it wasn't really a shock. Like I wasn't shocked in terms of wow, this is weird or wow, this is strange. I was just in a new world. For the first time in my life, I had classrooms with air conditioning inside. There was a cafeteria where I can go and just eat whatever I want. I was exposed to other cultures, being around Americans, being around Mexicans, because I lived in Texas at the time, being around other Black Americans. Obviously, I had the foundational English language from Nigeria, so communication wasn't an issue. But I remember at that young age of that system just being a special system, I was excited to be in the United States. I was eating a lot differently, didn't really have any balanced diet growing up in Nigeria. And then coming into the United States, all of a sudden, you're eating 3 square meals a day. I'm eating all sorts of fruits that I only saw on television. Everything that I saw on TV, I saw in real life. That was my experience growing up. I mean, so not growing up, having left Nigeria at 12 and coming into the United States. So it wasn't really a shock. Uh, Obviously, as like food wise, I was excited to explore and experience everything that I saw on television. Burgers I ate, pizza I ate, ice cream I ate. I literally had the world in my hands. And then making friends was so much easy. I had so much fun growing up. I was I just had more space. Everything looked bigger, everything looked cleaner, everything looked better. The air was better, the food tastes better. And like I mentioned, having my own space, life was good. Life was great for me. So there wasn't really, and also the school system as well, being able to learn for the first time on a computer, uh, reading different books, being taught US history, being taught Texas history, because that was where I came in from, was in Texas. Having light 24/7. Back then, there wasn't really any internet. So it was just, you read your books after school, you complete your homework, and then you go outside and ride your bike. And my dad bought me this racing bike. So I spent a lot of my time just driving around, riding all over the place in Texas. I had one of my dad's friends who would pick me up on weekends, and then she'll take me over to her place and she'll teach me how to bake cookies. And it's just like my world opened up. Whereas in Nigeria, it was super confined. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to worry about what I was going to eat. Whereas in Nigeria, it was always a constant, what am I going to have for breakfast? How am I going to get by today? You don't really have, you don't know what the game plan was. That was my childhood growing up in Nigeria, because I went from a very unstructured lifestyle and livelihood in Nigeria to more of a structured life when I came to the US to live with my dad. And obviously, after a few years, all of that changed. And I'm going to share that one day, on what went wrong between me and my dad. That actually, I ended up going back to Nigeria for a few years and then came back when I graduated college. But I think for the first 2 or 3 years of being in the United States, life was great. I took music in school. I learned how to play band. I mean, I played football, play baseball. Uh, what else? Had clean and better clothes and better shoes. So it wasn't really a shock. It was just a different kind. It was a, put it this way, it was a different world leaving Nigeria and coming to the United States at 12. And it's one of those things that even though things kind of went sour between my dad and I, but I can honestly say like the first 2 years of being in the United States from like 12 to 14 was one of the best 2 years of my life. Okay. So now, question number three: what would you advise your younger self before traveling? I mean, I traveled at 11, 12. I didn't really have much of a choice. I basically just, woke up one day and it was okay, you're going to the United States. That was my reality. But if I were to advise any young children watching this, 12 teenagers or what have you, is just have fun. Embrace the community, open up your mind. Obviously, you're still a minor. There's only so much you can really do, but just have fun, enjoy the culture, make as many friends as you can, and stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. Okay. What is the biggest mistake Nigerians make abroad? Just lack of focus would be number one. Number two, working and sending remittances home. Now I'm talking more to adults now. Like, you gotta have a blueprint for your future. For me, I wish I had invested very early on in Nigeria. I didn't start investing in Nigeria until like, I'm talking about like full blown until like 5 years ago in 2020. But prior to that, in early 2000s, from like 2003, I had a land. I invested in a land in Abuja that I had and kept for 5 years. I sold it in 2008. But also back then, I didn't really have guidance. There really wasn't anybody in Nigeria to guide me and advise me on what to invest in. As hungry as I was to be able to invest in Nigeria, I just did not have that um, in my early 20s. But the biggest mistake is just plan for America is great. Yes, you're watching this because you're on a pathway to your citizenship. But once you obtain that citizenship, think of what you can do back home that can support you at the very, very least, even if it covers your trips home to Nigeria. That's a success. If it covers your airfare home and your hotel accommodation, just having that investment back home, it could be in a form of land banking, which I think is actually one of the easiest ways to invest in Nigeria. It's just through land banking, where you buy land and you hold on to it for a few years and sell it for a profit. Or you get into securities, like investing in stocks and index funds, things like that. But the biggest mistake is just not investing. You know what I mean? Thinking that now that you're in the United States, it's a be all end all, and you don't really think about what you can do back home. There are opportunities back home. And I know a lot of Nigerians right now who wish that they had done more um, when they were younger. Like, I'm 47 years old. Some people that I know are in their 70s, and it's just now that they are starting to face Nigeria in their 70s. I'm not saying that that's too late. I mean, better late than never, but you're better off to start looking into what you can do investment wise when you're still young or when you're younger. Okay. How should Nigerians abroad manage? Yes. So, how should Nigerians abroad manage money? Money is not to be managed, money is to be invested. One of the critical mistakes people do money wise is just this constant sending money home to family and friends who refuse to work. Now, and also keeping, like in my family, my wife and I, we have separate bank accounts, but it's like her money is my money and my money is her money. So there's no, we are a partnership. We pay 50-50 bills. We this is our home. We raise our family as a team. It's not as if we have it written down to where it's like, okay, you pay 50% of the bill and I pay 50. That's not the way it works. It's shared responsibilities as parents for our children. So not only are we managing money in the present time, we are also setting aside investing for the future. So, wasting, to me, I feel when you are supporting able bodied family and friends back home, or even here in the United States, borrowing money, you are, that's waste. Okay. So I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just saying start making your money work for you. If you have an extra 5,000, 10,000 disposable cash, instead of sending it home to take care of people, you could invest in US stocks. I do index funds and stocks here in the United States as well as Nigeria, and I also have landed properties in Nigeria. So those are sort of like my recommendation in terms of like how to manage money. And also the most important thing is don't live poor, but live within your means. Okay, live within your means. Um, is life abroad truly easier or just different? I've answered this before in the past. I wouldn't say it's easier. I would just say it's just more opportunities that some people believe it or not don't really take advantage of all the resources and opportunities that the United States provides. I was very fortunate early on to have capitalized on that. Like, one of the best investments that I made was enlisting in the US Army, because that decision allowed me to be able to obtain money to go to college. And even more important than that, that also fast tracked my US citizenship that now opened the world for me. And till today, I still benefit as a US veteran. My family also still benefits as a US veteran. So abroad, when I say abroad, I'm talking about the United States now. I can't speak for other countries. It's a better environment for you to succeed. Your success lies largely in your imagination. You gotta have a goal. What are you trying to accomplish? And for those who are married, you also need a supporting partner, like a partner that understands your goals, that and you support each other as well. Like, I don't think I'll be able to do what I'm doing right now in Nigeria without Kate's support. Okay, so it's just a better environment. It can get lonely though, to be honest with you. It can get lonely. Like, before I got married, my life was super, super lonely. Like, I spent many, many holidays by myself, many Christmases by myself, because the closest family that I have I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. The closest relative that I have is in Houston, Texas. That's a 3-hour flight. The next one after that is in New Jersey. That's a 5 to 6 hour flight. The one after that is in Virginia. So relatives tend to kind of spread out in the United States. So it's not as if I can just get into my car right now and drive to a cousin's house. It doesn't work like that abroad. So abroad can get very lonely at times, but it's still one of the best environments. Like the United States is one of the best places where you can come in and make a solid life for yourself, grow a business, and then what is left over you can invest in Nigeria and also help uplift um, and uplift others. So it's just a great environment. Obviously, it's not for the lazy. If you are lazy, the United States capitalistic system is not for lazy people. It's for those who come in, they have a goal, they put their nose down, they do the job, they gain an education, take everything that you can from the US, from education to experience. This is the best platform on earth to be able to do that. Okay. So, what mindset? Question number 7. What mindset creates success in the US? I would say a mindset of service, thinking beyond yourself, looking out for your neighbor, um, contributing to society in one way or another. Just knowing that the US is your oyster, like you can accomplish anything that you set your mind. I'm telling you, that is real. You can accomplish anything that you set your mind to in the United States. So it's just having that growth focused, wealth driven mindset that is going to shape some of the decisions that you make in the United States. And for those who come to the US from Nigeria, just pack that whole poverty mindset. Leave that stuff in Nigeria. The moment that you cross into the United States, just know that you're starting a new world. Okay. Change your mindset. Always think positively. Uh, that is what creates success out here in America. Question number 8. How do you stay focused abroad and avoid distractions? So my number one objective and my number one goal as a parent is obviously my immediate family. That's my wife and my kids. So they keep me focused because not only am I thinking about their welfare today, I'm thinking about the Ivy League college that I have in mind for my daughters to go to. I would like to see them, you know, attend Ivy League college like Princeton, Yale, and Harvard. That's my vision for them. And obviously, our financial independence is also uh, what keeps me focused. And initially, before I got married, I was just like most Nigerians abroad. I was super distracted. And I've told this story before. Feel free to go back into my archives and just yeah, I've told many stories about my early stages in the US, being distracted for 11 years. I was taking care of everybody except myself. And I woke up one day at 30 and I had nothing. And there was nobody that I could lean on or turn to help me. But once I got over that, once I got over that stage of distraction, I've just been focused since. And as a result of that focus, I am healthier financially, I'm healthier mentally, and I'm healthier spiritually, which now allows me to actually face Nigeria and do what? Build a company, create jobs, create opportunities for others to take care of themselves. So you're gonna be distracted, especially if you are coming into the US for the first time from Nigeria, you haven't lived abroad before. You might think that it's your responsibility to care for people back home. the weight is now on your shoulder. You're basically a target now because they're going to start looking at you, thinking that you're rich, thinking that you're better off than them. My advice is always don't fall for that trap. Just keep your nose down, prioritize obtaining your citizenship. I cannot stress that enough. Even if it's at the expense of others back home, you really want to prioritize obtaining that. I'm telling you, this blue passport will change your life. And obviously, don't you're not going to give up your Nigerian citizenship because you can be a dual citizen. You don't have to give up the other one. Unlike Britain, I think you can't be a U.S. citizen and a British citizen at the same time. You have to give one up. But Nigeria is not like that. It's a dual citizenship, uh, I guess, plan where you can be a U.S. citizen and also a Nigerian citizen as well. Okay. So, question number 9: what's the hardest part about being Nigerian in America? I think honestly, it's just family pressure back home. Some people can't break that trap. My dad was one of those. 42 years he spent in the United States, and he passed away in 2020, literally with 5,000 naira in his bank account and nothing to show for it in the United States. So he's just prioritizing others but yourself. And that's kind of one of the reasons why my dad and I fell out, was because he did not prioritize his immediate family, meaning his children. It was always extended family first, children second. So we clashed. That was one of the major reasons why my dad and I clashed. But the hardest part about being Nigerian in the United States is that family pressure, that expectation. They want you to take care of things back home. They're always leaning to you for everything. But just know, and I've always said this in the past, know that you can say no. You can ignore those calls. You can block those people. You can just not respond. Let them think what they want to think. That is not your problem. Your obligation is to yourself first and foremost. And as you continue to grow in the United States, obviously you're going to have your own family. And then thereafter, your obligation is to your family. And if you have a little bit of extra that you want to use to assist people back home, that can come later. But primarily, you want to focus on yourself and your immediate family. What are the biggest advantages of traveling to What are the biggest advantages of having a US citizenship? So it's just that travel freedom, and also you have the backing of the world's most powerful nation behind you. That is what this passport does. You are an official United States citizen, so you are protected by the United States government. Okay. America is a great place to do business as a US citizen. Okay. You can build confidently both in the United States and Nigeria as a US citizen. The door actually opens up wider for you as a US citizen compared to being a resident on a green card only. Okay. So the benefits are there. As a US citizen, you can run for office. You can't, if you're a naturalized citizen, though, you can't be, obviously, you cannot run for the United States presidency as a naturalized. You have to be born in the US to qualify to run at the highest level of the presidency. So if you have aspirations on being a US citizen as a naturalized born citizen, that's not going to happen. That is only reserved for those who are born here in the country and not naturalized like I was. Okay. So the opportunity, I mean, you are respected too, as a US citizen. The opportunity is just wide open. It's just a matter of how do you leverage it to be able to grow as a person. If you want to run a business, it's easy for you to be able to leverage that US citizenship as opposed to just being a Nigerian resident based abroad. Okay. How did becoming a citizen impact your business journey? I mean, prior to Nigeria, I was doing business in China. I did business in China for 17 years. Just having that confidence. I have a US, I have a Chinese, 10-year Chinese visa, business visa on my US passport. It just opens up a lot of doors. There's that respect factor that comes with being a citizen of the United States. Um, it's helped tremendously with my activities in Nigeria. I can walk into the country. So I can enter Nigeria with confidence, re-enter the United States with confidence. I don't have to worry about anything, just knowing that I have a valid United States passport. Now, I used to do this when I traveled to Nigeria. I don't do that anymore. But in the past, when I would travel home, I would literally just walk into, now with the internet. This was like pre-internet. I would go to the US embassy and declare that I'm in the country and just register that I'm in a country. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can do most things online. Like if I'm traveling to the United States, I can always register through the State Department. So if I'm traveling to Nigeria, if I want to, I can declare that I'm traveling to the US on the State Department's website, just in case if anything were to happen, they know where I am. But I'm telling you, it's a country that gives to those who gives to the country. So you always want to think, how can I contribute? How can I be of service? How can I help amplify other people's lives? US rewards those sort of people. Okay. So what advice do you have for Nigerians planning to relocate to America? Do it the right way. Do it legally. There are as you can see now, with the current president and the current administration, um, immigration is actually a top policy that they are really cracking down on. Previous administrators have sort of like opened the borders up. This administration is focused more on a closed border. Best advice: do it legally. If you come into the United States legally, you'll be protected. You have other opportunities that legal residents have. And as you continue to stay in the country, obviously, if you choose to go the military route like I did, to be able to to be able to fast track your citizenship, you can. Otherwise, you could just take the normal 5-year residency pathway towards citizenship. Some people end up getting married to American citizens. I didn't go that route, but I mean, that's another pathway towards citizenship for you if that's really what you want to do. But the opportunity is there. The most important thing, though, is you just have to be legal and you have to do things the right way. Wait, apply the right way, interview legally, and enter the country legally. Anyone that's trying to get you to um, to enter, I don't even know how easy it is anymore to enter the US illegally. I'm pretty sure it's tough. Okay. But you want to just say no, just do it the right way. Because the last thing that you want is to be deported. If you are deported for any reason in the US, you may never ever re-enter. Okay. And even if you are eligible after being deported to re-enter the United States, it's going to take you at least 10 years to be able to file that re-entry documentation and that re-entry paperwork to come back in. So um, in the long run, illegal immigration does not work. It's actually more trouble than it's a lot of trouble. So you just want to follow the legal pathway when immigrating. So yes, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, post in the chat. I'll be happy to answer. If not, that's just what I wanted to share. I wanted to share with you my pathway and my story and my journey on becoming a US citizen. I just went the military route. Okay. I joined at 18, 19, got out at 22, 23. And here I am sitting comfortably with a valid US passport valid, well, it's not, a Nigerian passport isn't valid anymore because it expired 2 days ago. But I'm just happy to be where I am as far as like my status goes. As a US citizen, nobody can take that away from me. As a Nigerian citizen, nobody can ever take that away from me. But my advice, and I'm going to close with this, do it the right way. There's a lot of benefits out there available to you. There are several pathways available to you in obtaining your US citizenship. Just do it the right way. Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. Tune in for the next one. I'll be back on live at 12 p.m. to talk about agro exports. And I look forward to seeing you then. Okay.